The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
I don't know what season. I don't know what season it is right now. I mean, should I be, putting bars on my windows, or should I be putting a mask on my dogs? I don't know.
Put bars on your dog and a mask on your windows.
All right, sounds like a winner.
Oh man, so we were talking a couple weeks ago about the gear stuff and everything, and I'm going to say this because I did just acquire some new parts for my pistol and everything, and it is let's see, let me get it here. Yeah, so I got some new grip panels for my pistol. And they're just standard, basic Beretta replacement parts, just the standard replacement grip panels. And so...
What made you change them?
Well, the grip panels that came on them, they were very... they're nice. Don't get me wrong. I loved the way they looked on the gun. But, they'll... On some grip panels, they'll have like a checkering pattern or something to help improve the grip. They actually have ridges cut into it, and at the back of the grip panel, right at the beaver tail where I grip it, those ridges come out into points on the edge of the grip panel. And with the way I grip the pistol for my shooting style, those ridges were actually digging into that webbing between my index finger and my thumb. So it was making it very uncomfortable to grip it. And, God forbid I ever have to draw it in a self-defense scenario and end up ripping my hand open while I'm trying to draw the gun. So, like I said, I just put some standard stock Beretta grip panels on there. And now it feels more like what I was used to carrying in the military, for one. And for two, it actually slimmed down the profile on the grip a little bit. So now I can actually grip it a little bit better than what I had with those original grips on there. So this is a case of, in my opinion, less is more.
See, I am quite the opposite when it comes to gear. I am what you might call a gear queer. Totally heterosexual though, no homo. But I'm just kidding. I'm straight as an arrow. But the point is that I bought I think about a year ago an ATN. I think it's called the X-Sight 4K. It's basically a day scope that can switch night vision, and I was very pleased with it. I mean, it's got all. I mean, it took me a while to figure out. I mean, it's very easy to manipulate the all of the menus once you kind of figure out the methodology to it.
Right.
And so earlier this month, I went out and I was doing some research, and I wanted a rangefinder because I felt I wasn't getting the maximum efficiency or benefit from my scope, because the scope is designed to adjust your point of aim automatically. It's got an internal ballistic calculator, depends on an accurate range. So I bought an auxiliary ballistic laser made by ATN, and it syncs up Bluetooth, and it did take me. I had to watch a video because the manual that came with it. I mean, it has like 4 photographs, and I'm like, okay, where are the crayons? I can't, directions confusing. My penis stuck in the ceiling fan. But now that it's on, I actually it took it outside and fired 3 rounds. Got it. I mean, like the 1-shot zero of the scope itself is miraculous. I love this thing because I just set up some steel plates. So I guess it's really dependent on your target because it's not 1-shot zero if you don't hit the steel plate.
Right.
But I cheated up a little bit and then I was able to dial it in. And like I said, it just came in the mail today. I unboxed it. And I will give a full review in the near future. But my initial impression is that the auxiliary ballistic laser and the ATN X-Sight 4K scope were a match made in heaven. And I was watching some of the clips from SHOT Show this year, and ATN's come out with a less expensive scope that doesn't have all of the bells and whistles. I don't know if it has a ballistic calculator and all that stuff into it, but if you're really balling on a budget, that may be something to look into. And again, I'm not a paid sponsor. I am absolutely just a loser that likes to spend his money on stuff. And nobody's giving me anything free. Any benefit from it. So my opinion is absolutely as pure as it gets.
Now, I'll be honest. I've never. The only interaction I've had of any kind with any type, to be honest, I've never even dealt with any kind of night vision scope on a weapon. The only kind of interaction I've had with night vision was the shitty ass nods that we used in the military.
Those are actually really good nods if you compare it to what's on the market today. I mean, unless you have like cash flowing out of your account. In that case, please send some my way, and I will test some more products on your behalf. But I will say this, because the what I expected when I bought a night vision on the civilian market was that military quality. Because you say shitty nods, but when you buy the civilian version, you're like, whoa, we had it really freaking good. Because it's, without a really good light source, like a full moon or a very strong, like high candle power kind of light with a red lens over it, you're not shooting anything more than 100, maybe 200 yards away.
Right.
I mean, if you want to get a good target. If you want to be sure of your target. Now, the only things you can hunt legally that I'm aware of in my state at night are coyotes and hogs. So, if you're a deer hunter, then you don't need the night vision. But ATN makes, I think the zoom is from 3 to 14, and you can extend it. It's got like a digital zoom past 14. That is. It is absolutely adequate. I mean, I can zoom in on a 12-inch plate that's at 300 yards, and it almost fills my entire object.
Wow.
So
that's some impressive.
Yeah.
Now, how clear is the sight picture when you're zoomed in that far at 300 yards?
It's good up to 14x, and then whenever you get to the digital and zoom, basically all you're doing is blowing up the screen. So then it does start to get a little bit fuzzy. But it's, like I said, I'm not doing any 1,000 to 1,500 yard shots. So for my purposes here, I can't see more than maybe 400 yards in any direction. Anything I was shooting at would disappear into these or become, hey, I don't know what's beyond where my bullets are going to hit, so I wouldn't be able to.
You and I need to get together. We need to plan out the logistics on this. We need to go and try to set the world record for longest shot.
Okay, man, that's a world record. We're going to need some sponsors. We're going to need a BFR.
Let's see here. I used to know.
Big fucking rifle.
Yeah. I used to know stats on this, and I'm having to look it up again, but I want to say it was a guy in Texas. Yeah. Texas man nails breakthrough 3-mile shot.
Good Lord.
Using a custom rifle chambered in .408 Cheyenne Tactical, Bill Poor connected on a 3-mile shot to set what could be a new world record. This was January 14th of 2018.
Man, and as cool as that would be, there's always going to be somebody else right behind you doing the same thing. I mean, I've never even heard of a .408 Cheyenne, to be honest. And again, I don't profess to be an expert in anything. I'm a novice at best. I just really enjoy this stuff, so I love learning about it. Because my first thought was like a 338 Lapua, or maybe like the 50 BMG.
So it says he used a custom rifle modified by Vestal's Custom Rifles, chambered in .408 CheyTac, firing a 390 grain bullet at 3,160 feet per second. It took the bullet over 14 seconds to reach the target 3 miles away.
Could you imagine the anticipation? You shoot and you're sitting there like, did I miss it? Did I hit it? Is it going to hit? Did I miss it? Like for 14 seconds, that's like an eternity. I mean, consider, in the world of shooting, you get that instant satisfaction or feedback. I mean, unless you're on the rifle range that's for score at Parris Island, and then you get shitty butt service. But yeah, that happens.
Let's see. So he's using. So he's got the .408 CheyTac, 3 miles. Took him 8 shots to hit the target, and the target size, from what I can tell, looks to be about a 4x4 target, 4 feet by 4 feet.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 4-inch, 4-inch. And I was like, fucking hell.
Oh God! If he hit a damn 4-inch by 4-inch target at 3 miles and only 8 shots, then I will suck his dick and give him. I will give him 30 minutes to draw a crowd.
So I have a question. Which one is more gay, to suck one dick 10 times or 10 dicks one time?
Well, I don't suck dick, so I cannot. I cannot comment on that.
No, but I mean, like, if somebody was like, "Oh, I suck one dick 10 times," or somebody else was like, "Oh, I suck 10 dicks once," which one is more gay?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the whole thing of, you could paint 1,000 paintings before you're considered a master artist, but you suck one dick and you're considered a homo for life.
Okay, well, I guess we'll put a pin in that one because it doesn't really have anything to do with the second amendment.
So, but yeah, no, I'm right in the middle of minimalist and gear queer. Like I said, like with the grip panels on my pistol, it is a prime example to me of less is more. They tried to get real ornate and fancy with the grips that they put on there. It just didn't work out as well. So I just put some standard replacement stock Beretta grips on there, and I love the way it feels on my grip now.
Oh, good. I'm glad you found something good that works for you.
But I mean, as far, I've got, until I bought this Blackhawk Omnivore, I had holsters out the ass for guns. I would have 10 holsters for one gun. It was just all dependent upon what I felt like carrying that day. I think I'm going to go Miami Vice and rock my Galco shoulder holster. Or, I think I'm going to just go minimalist and wear an inside the waistband. And then I got too fat and had to throw out the inside the waistband and all that other stuff.
No, you just buy bigger britches. and a longer belt, because that's what I've dealt with. But here is something, a little food for thought. I have discovered quite by accident that the SIGs that I have bought, I've got specifically the P320 and the P226 in pistols. they both fit in the same holster. Because I have one of those what do they call them? Tyvek. The one where they heat it up and it molds and it shapes.
Oh, the
perfectly to
Kydex.
the gun.
The Kydex, yeah.
Kydex, thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong, but thank you for saving me on that. But I've noticed that they're hard plastic, so inside inside the waistband would probably be really uncomfortable. But I mean, as far as if I'm wearing a collared shirt with shorts, then it's slim enough. Unless, of course, I've got the 20-round magazine in there, then it's hard to hide it. But
I can just imagine that sticking out of the back of your shirt. Yeah.
So when you carry sealed, do you carry with a round in the chamber?
Absolutely.
Why?
It's the same concept as thinking I'm going to have enough time to put on a seatbelt right before I get into an accident.
Good point. I've oftentimes kind of wondered, like, should I leave one out of the chamber, right? Just carry it condition 3,
right?
So that it could be like an escalation of force, right? If I needed to draw, that chambering of racking around it, can send a very distinct message. But you're right. I mean, what if you don't have time to rack that around and you pull the gun out and it's not ready to get into action?
Exactly. See, because the thing is, most of the time, especially with the weather the way it is right now, it's that humidity where you take a few steps and then you got to kind of spread your legs out a little bit if you're a guy. So with all that in mind, and as much bulk as this Omnivore holster has with it, I open carry a lot of the times around here during this time of year. So if, say I'm, just for argument's sake, I'm standing in line at the store and I'm talking on the phone with somebody, if the person behind me sees it and they have any kind of knowledge about firearms, then they can look at the loaded chamber indicator and see if my gun is loaded or not.
Yeah. And it baffles me because I distinctly recall, and I've been to Afghanistan twice, 2007 to 8, and then again in 2013. And it was 2 different wars. I didn't even recognize the place the second time I went. In fact, there were times when they said that you may not have a magazine in your rifle. And it blew my mind. I was like, wait a minute. We're a military fighting force in a foreign land.
And a war zone.
Yeah. The declared war zone. And they're saying you can't carry even a magazine in. I'm not even talking about condition 3. I'm talking about condition 4. Like no magazine inserted at all. And I was just like, man, I hope the bad guys at least give us a heads up that they're coming. But I digress.
Well, no, I mean, that makes absolutely no sense to me because, I mean, hell, even when I was in Iraq, the second time around in 2008, on the way back in Al-Asad, we could not leave the freaking hooch without having there were a couple of times where I'd be going to the MWR or something on Al-Asad, and Doc was getting ready to rack out for the night. And, hey, Doc, let me borrow your pistol. I don't feel like lugging this damn rifle just to go to the MWR. Yeah, sure, go ahead. But we were condition 3.
But you had MWR?
At Al-Asad, yeah. Al-Asad basically turned...
I'm fucking with you, man.
Al-Asad basically turned into a fucking... It basically turned into just a standard military base. I mean, we had...
And for any listeners out there that heard me call Daniel a pogue, that's funny. It's hilarious because I'm the pogiest of pogues. And he's actually a grunt. So it is like the ultimate insult.
Oh man. Yeah, but even then, Al-Asad, there's I think from I got to my first appointment in 2006, got back in 2007, and then was there for most of the year in 2008. In the 14 months that I spent over there, I think Al Assad may have got hit twice in 14 months total. And even then, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. It was bang. Oh my God, what's that noise? Ah, shit, they fucking shot a rocket at us. Let's go back to the hooch. But we were condition 3 the entire time.
So now, as a civilian, where do you buy your product? You said you bought some new side panels from Grip, or your
yes,
some Breda grips. Where'd you get them? Was it a trade deal, or do you have a website that you like to use?
Well, this was actually through a local gun store. For my, I try to shop as local as possible when it comes to all of my firearm purchases. And when I say local, I don't mean Walmart. So if I'm buying any kind of holsters or magazines or any kind of accessories, belts, anything like that, then I will shop through all of my local FFL dealers. And there's...
You have a belt-fed weapon? Is that what you said?
No. I mean, like a shooting belt, gear belt.
Oh, I was like, Daniel, you're holding out on me. How am I just learning this about you? I mean, I'm just about to like jizz in my pants. But
yeah, I got a civilian saw in my closet. Oh man, if I ever win the lottery, I will have a civilian version of a saw, just to say that I have one.
Yeah. Well, so you know, I was talking earlier about the ABL auxiliary laser for my ATN, and I was on Gunbroker, and Gunbroker is very it's a very big community. I mean, like everybody's selling stuff on. It's kind of like the eBay of guns. And normally I'm pretty impetuous when it comes to buying gun stuff. Like, I want something, the first place I find, I buy it. But for some reason, I actually slept on this one, and then I came back and I dug a little deeper, and I actually saved like $20 by sorting by price and going all the way to the end. Now, granted, it did take me, I think, almost 3 weeks to receive it. So, you know, but what was I really missing? In that time, I mean, a lot of things have changed since then. You know, I mean, you know, I believe that, you know, the pandemic was still the main headlines, and now it's protests in response to the unfortunate and untimely death of George Floyd.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. Any of our listeners that listen to my show on Monday nights, you know, it's what happened to George Floyd is 100% tragic, and there's no other way to put it. I do not feel that this particular incident had anything to do with race. You can't take everything that happens between a white guy and a black guy, whether it's a white officer and a black perp or black officer and a white perp. Doesn't matter. You can't take every incident between a white man and a black man, or whatever gender they refer to themselves as, and call it racist. There was...
And I get that, you know, that it doesn't matter if you know, I guess it can matter if it does matter, but if you don't make it an issue, it's not the issue, and maybe that's what people are talking about when they say white privilege, is that we get to pick and choose what's racism and what's not. And now I have actually, and I don't mean to interrupt your story,
no.
but you know, I was. I can't remember. I think it was a Denny's. It might have been a Waffle House. This has been within the last 10 years. About 3:00 in the morning, just outside of Petersburg in Virginia, off of I-95, and I was the only Caucasian in the place, and there was a gentleman there who. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I mean, I thought maybe he was just, you know, maybe he was mental and having an episode, or maybe that was just his way of venting what was talking under his breath. And I ordered my coffee, and the server delivered my coffee, and she said, "Sir, it would probably be best if you left." And at that moment, I realized that racism doesn't discriminate in the sense that it affects everybody. It doesn't matter what your skin is. So I do get that.
Yeah.
And I do not want to take away from the Black Lives Matter movement. I think the issue, however, is bigger than race, and it is something far more terrifying to everybody in this country, and it's tyranny in the form that the government, the people fear the government.
Yes.
Definition of tyranny. When you're afraid of your government, that is no bueno, right? And I signed up for this for liberty, right? I want freedom. I want to be able to not be afraid of my government. In fact, I would prefer my government to be afraid of me and what I may say at the ballot box, not necessarily in the streets. But what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I've got very particular feelings in regards to all of the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement. The thing about Black Lives Matter, when it first started, it was Black Lives Matter just as much as white lives, as Mexican lives, as Asian lives. And I agree. Absolutely, 100% I agree with that. But the second they started making demands and saying white people have to pay reparations, their movement lost any and all credibility, in my opinion, when they started doing that stuff. The entire idea behind the movement just became lost, and it became about race.
Well, and I don't know if you've noticed the latest battle cry of a lot of these protests, not necessarily just BLM, but is that they want to defund police and remove basically get police your own. What are your thoughts on that?
That would lead to 100% anarchy in no time at all.
I don't think so. I don't think it would be total anarchy. I think that the millions of gun owners in the United States would finally realize the culmination of all of their preparation and investment. I mean, I don't know. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not that gun owners are going to go out and just start blasting people, but they're going to understand that, hey, you know what? I carry a gun because a cop is too heavy. If they defund police, then policing is going to happen. Either you're going to take care of yourself or you're going to hide behind somebody else that's willing to. In my opinion, and that's why I'm such an advocate for education and training. Like I want everybody that I can possibly influence to at least be confident and comfortable with a firearm enough to defend themselves and the people and what they love.
Absolutely, but I think what you get into with a case like that is, you don't have. Law enforcement, in my opinion, is supposed to be kind of like that mediating ground between victim and perp. They're kind of like that buffer zone right there. We as gun owners, we kind of extend the buffer zone into our favor a little bit. But law enforcement, it says on the side of all their cars to protect and to serve. And a lot of them have lost that vision and have turned it into to get back at all the people that made fun of me when I was a kid in school.
Come on, that's a low blow. I
didn't say all of them. I said a lot of them.
And I'm trying to think if I think I've in my comings and goings, I've probably known a couple of law enforcement dudes. One of them is actually a Secret Service guy now. And they're regular guys now, and this is totally Rod Burks' opinion and his opinion alone. But if you're a Caucasian male, I don't understand what would ever possess you to go into law enforcement. I mean, being a Marine, okay, I kind of get that hey, yeah, I'm invincible, I'm indestructible. I'm going to paint a target on my chest and challenge you. But in today's day and age, it's just like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like being a school teacher, I mean, like the pay sucks. Kids are different now. Parents are probably way less supportive of teachers than they were when I was a kid. Because if my teacher ever called home, oh man, my ass was grass and mom was a lawnmower.
Yep.
Nowadays, it's like, oh well, were you treating my child the same? Oh, what? No, fuck that. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Give me folks.
No, it's fine. No, I agree. 100% I agree. But yeah, the whole thing just like I said, if you do away with law enforcement, I've seen where they're going to do away with law enforcement, and the proposed idea is to have like social administrators or something to that effect. Social something. Everything is fucking social these days. Distancing is social. So
that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, you're right though.
So I think if you do away with law enforcement, then it's going to be we're going to end up back in the times of the Wild West. You're going to have people meeting in the town square at high noon, and I can't say that I'm totally against that idea, but I also can't say I'm totally for it either.
Right, and Rod's opinion is that if Rod's calling law enforcement, it's because I need backup. It's either I don't have enough fingers for triggers, or I don't have enough rounds left in my magazines to handle the problem. But absolutely, I do feel confident and more comfortable knowing that if I'm not home and somebody in my house needed backup or needed protection, that there's somebody there that they could call. Because what if I'm a couple hours away?
Yeah. And that's the thing about it too. Like, Matt, my co-host from Two Beards Talking, he was at my house the other night and we were talking about this stuff, and he was shocked. He said to me, he says, I'm shocked that you're not ready for the impending boogaloo. And I said, what do you mean? I've got my pistol right here. Yeah, but you sold all of your ARs when the bump stock thing blew up the market. And I said, you're damn right I did. I'm a capitalist. Well, what are you going to do now with just the pistol? I said, I'm going to wait for the first wannabe boogalooer to come through my door, and he's going to get a couple rounds in the face, and then I'm going to take whatever he has and use that on the next boogalooer that comes through the door. And the next thing you know, I'm going to have an entire armory in my house.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I could ever have enough guns. If somebody asked me, in fact, I'm not even sure exactly how many I have but
2 is the magic number. 2 is all you have.
Yeah, it depends on who's asking, right?
Any of the alphabet agencies.
Well, that alphabet agency that does my car insurance asked me if I had guns because I was doing homeowners insurance, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable answering this. I was like, I'll talk to you in hypotheticals, but I don't know if you can really like.
Let's say
raise my rates if I have guns. Like,
let's say hypothetically, I've got 5 safes that all have guns in them. What's my coverage there?
Right.
Oh, man.
But for the right price, you can insure anything, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was watching a clip from Live PD last night on Facebook, and Guy got pulled over on a dirt bike that had no VIN numbers, all this stuff. He claimed he had just bought it off a guy from Facebook. VIN numbers were stripped. It was a piece of junk, had no tag, no insurance. And the guy said, well, I didn't even know if I could get insurance on something like that. It was a dirt bike. I didn't even know if I could get insurance on something like this. And the trooper that pulled him over was like, dude, insurance will take your money. They will insure anything.
Yeah, I mean, insurance is really a gamble if you think about it, right? Because here you've got a company that says, hey, I'm willing to bet that you will not lose or take a loss. You as a homeowner are saying, okay, I'll take that bet. I'll give you, 100, 300, 500, whatever your premium is.
Yeah.
And then if you win that bet, and that's in quotations, or if you win the bet, meaning you have a loss, you also have to pay a deductible.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, damn, I won the bet, but I still got to pay $1,000 to get my shit fixed. Like, it's kind of like, man, I mean, come on, let's call it what it is. I mean, if we're going to gamble.
I bet on the winning horse. Now I got to pay the bookie to get my money.
Exactly. So I do not have insurance specifically for my firearms. I have a homeowner's insurance, and that's about it. I mean, I don't know. Do you? What do you think? Do you think insuring your firearms is a good idea?
Well, let's see here. I've got I have renter's insurance on all of my stuff. So I'm actually staying with my mother right now to help her out ever since Dad died and everything. She has homeowner's insurance on the house, and then I have renter's insurance to cover her homeowner's insurance would cover my stuff.
Okay, so you, but you don't think that it's necessary to have a separate policy just for your firearms? It really my question.
Well, I mean, that's why I have the renter's insurance policy, and it's all encompassing. It's basically a catch-all for all of my stuff. So if something happens that we have a loss and her homeowner's insurance doesn't cover it, my renter's insurance policy will.
Man, you really need to up those numbers, because I know that it's on my homeowners. Probably wouldn't cover my investment in firearms, but I'm still too lazy to, or too cheap, I guess. Sure, my guns by themselves, and shame on me. But part of me is kind of that, like, hey, you know what? If somebody wants to steal it, if they need it that bad, let them try.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the thing with my renter's insurance.
That foolish.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with my renter's insurance. My policy covers $20,000 worth of property damage or loss. So it doesn't specify what property it is. It's just I can claim up to $20,000 in property damage and or loss. So if somebody breaks in the house and steals my guns, well, I know what guns I have. And I know what the serial numbers are. Here's how much I paid for them. And that's that.
Yeah. Good point. And I don't think I've ever actually sat down and did up the value. And how do you do that? And this is something I actually thought about expanding my business.
Well,
was to start doing appraisals, right? For specifically for insurance companies, because like an insurance company would be like, oh well, what is this gun worth? And then I mean, what is it? Just like a certification? Maybe I get a couple of bucks, do a little research, and tell people that, oh yeah, well, you should have this much insurance.
Well, the way I do it, especially for my firearms, is the little tag that they always tie on to the trigger guard on a pistol, for example, and it has the make, model, caliber, price, all that stuff. I always keep that tag inside the box that the gun came in. So that way I have it written down inside the box what I paid for that firearm. Depending upon what firearm,
and that's a good idea. But like sometimes I trade for guns, right? Trade a gun for a gun. The person I traded with may not have done the same thing. So
in that case,
your investment.
So in that case, hopefully I've traded up. Traded a $400 gun for a $700 gun, and in that case, I would say you just got to go off what the market is. If that gun, when it was bought brand new, was worth $400, and then the market's inflated and made it $700, well, now you got a $300 inflation profit.
Yeah. I don't know if this is true, but I had heard somewhere that when you buy like a shot of whiskey, the cost of that 2-ounce pour or whatever it was equivalent to the cost of I don't know what that standard round was. I don't know if it was 45 Colt or what, but the cost was about the same. So if they didn't have the coins, they would use bullets to pay for their liquor. And that's where the name shot came from, because it's like, oh, I'll give you a bullet for a shot. A shot for a shot.
It makes sense. It does make sense. I kind of wish we could go back to those prices, because I would love nothing more than be able to pay. I don't know what's 45 Colt going for right now, like 60 something cents a round.
Yeah, I don't know. I make my own 45 Colt though.
Yeah, I think it's like 60 something cents, about the same price as a 5.7. I'd love to be able to pay in 60 something cents for a shot every time I go to the bar. I would get so drunk, so fast, so cheap.
I figured in your parts of Alabama that you all had your own stack.
So how about them Yankees?
All right. I neither confirm nor deny.
No, funny story about that. So we've got some family friends that live up in Buffalo, New York. And every year, or I won't say every year, but every time they come down here, they always stop in Gatlinburg, Tennessee on the way down. The last time I saw these people a couple of years ago, same thing. They'd stopped in Gatlinburg, and the woman, we'll call her Beth. We were on our way down and we stopped in Gatlinburg, and I always thought moonshine was illegal, but we went to this place that sells moonshine, and I got to buy a whole case of it. No, Beth, you did not buy moonshine. You bought vodka in a mason jar.
Yeah, they just branded it moonshine, right?
Yeah. So I told her, I said, now, if you want some moonshine, I can get you shine on. So I called a guy who called a guy who knows a guy that knows a guy, and it was a little late getting to me. It was the day after they went back to Buffalo. But I got an email from my friend, said, hey, I left that screwdriver you let me borrow sitting on your front porch. Screwdriver? What the hell is he talking about? So,
man,
I go outside and I'm looking on the front porch for a screwdriver, and I'm like, what the hell? And I finally called him up and I said, what fucking screwdriver are you talking about? He says, oh yeah, the one I left it laying behind the pallets there on the front porch. And I looked and I see this mason jar, and I'm like, oh, screwdriver, I get it now.
Jesus, man.
I mean, it had been like a week. I had completely forgot about this. And then, well, I've still got some of my cough syrup up in the freezer. So if you ever stop by, let me know. And if you get a cough, I'll hook you up.
Yeah, Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I may or may not have the coronas, so I could use some of that cough medicine. Just saying.
This will knock it the fuck out. I mean, it's
you know, that's all that matters.
180. I will say that. 180.
Jesus, man,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
that shit will keep a damn car engine running.
Well,
and it'll degrease the engine at the same time.
Right. I wouldn't recommend it for diesels.
Oh man, yeah, it'll put hair on your chest. That's for sure. How did Jesus Christ? How did we get on moonshine?
Well, you know, I mean, everything that we talk about, I think, boils down to liberty to do and kind of be, I guess, American, right? I mean, because you know, and like, my time in Afghanistan, I mean, they're like, you know, forbidden, you know, no alcohol, period. You know, and it's very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? Frowned upon by the you know, the staunchest of Islamic followers. However, everything has a price, and my interpreter, Farhad, great guy. I mean, like, you know, he's a citizen of the United States now. But at the time, you know, he was, you know, he really put his life on the line to help us in our mission and the life of his family. But back to my story, I guess. Yeah, I was like, man, I could really go for, you know, some Russian water is what we called it,
right?
Vodka, right? And he's like, well, I can't get it in Afghanistan, but you know, I can go to Pakistan and get it all day long, but I'm going to be gone for a day or two, right? So I'm like, yeah, how much? He's like $70 US, which in you know, I guess, I don't know what the Pakistani currency is, but yeah, $70 is a lot of money. But to me, I was like, yeah, it's for a handle for me and the guys, you know, because I think it was like I don't know if it was Christmas was coming up, but you know, I wanted to do something. So anyway, I sent my interpreter to Pakistan, and he came back with a bottle of, you know, didn't have a single letter on it I could recognize, but it was clear and it smelled like vodka. So and it tasted great, and the boys were very appreciative of it. And I was only upstaged by the colonel, the full-bird Colonel Smith, Philip E. Smith, because he's like, oh yeah, let's bring everybody into the chapel. You know, so we're already getting tuned up for it's like Christmas Eve. And so we all go to the chapel, and he busts out a bottle of Johnny Walker, and I'm like, damn it, man! Here I am, like trying to win rapport with my Marines, and the colonel totally shits all over my morale fucking effort, you know, and with a bottle of Johnny, and he probably got it delivered legally, you know. I mean, I don't even know how, like, you know, I had to do this like whole covert mission, and he probably like had some like journalist like fly it over from DC or some shit. But yeah, anyway, I'm not sure how we got into this story, but Colonel Smith, man. I doubt you're listening, but if you are, I'm sorry to throw you under the bus. Like,
oh Jesus, yeah, no, that's and that's the thing about it, you know. Okay, I get we're in a war zone, but like my 2008 deployment, we had one tick the entire 7 months we were over there, one troops in contact, and it was 3 insurgents and a bongo truck. And one of the insurgents popped off a couple of rounds at our convoy, which was 3 up-armored LAVs, 2 of them were LAV 25s. And yeah,
what was the third one? Was it
a log. It was a log. So they swing turrets on this truck and just turn it into a pile of scrap metal. I won't get too graphic because I was working in the COC and I got to deal with all the after action from it, so I got to see all the pictures. But yeah, it was bad. So bad, in fact, that they actually pulled the convoy commander and were investigating him for excessive use of force during that incident because one of his vehicles unloaded 120 HE rounds on this truck.
Now, I am absolutely not a fan of excessive force, right? I mean, because that's kind of where we are in present day with the protests and everything. But at the same time, when you declare war, I guess a very nondescript enemy, you're gonna have a hard time trying to classify what is excessive, what is not. Now, as a logistician, that's a small price to pay to account for shit that you may have lost or was assumed without having any charts or any reports of it. And at the same time, I understand that keeping a record of every round you fired is really fucking tedious and boring, but it's also very important.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, hey, we had a tick. We fired 30,000 rounds. No, you didn't. But okay, yeah, you lost 30,000 rounds, and this is how you're going to try to show consumption of them. Yeah.
So, like I said, I get the fact that we were in a war zone, but my 08 deployment, it was. I mean, we could have just not showed up and everything would have been fine. Literally, the only Kazovac we had for the entire deployment for a gunshot wound was self-inflicted from an ND by my battalion gunner. Of all people.
What? Damn.
Of all people. And he was voted Gunner of the Year, Gunner of the Marine Corps. Marine Corps Gunner of the Year right before we deployed.
Jesus.
Best gunner in the entire Marine Corps, and he's sitting in his office talking on a satellite phone, milking the hammer home on his pistol, and hammer slips out and he fires a round into his leg.
Fucking retard.
This
man. And I guess my theater was very different. Afghanistan was always the bastard child of the administration at the time. You know what I mean? I mean, it was kind of the afterthought, even though Afghanistan started before Iraq, and it's still going today. For those that are keeping track, whereas Iraq is not, supposedly. It was not at all the same. Like the first time I went to Afghanistan, I had all kinds of stories to tell. It was kind of like the Wild West, with one radio transmission, I was lifting grid squares off the face of the planet for eternity. Like nothing in that grid square would ever be seen by human eyes again without a microscope. You know what I'm saying? And then I go back in 2013, and the mission was different. And now I'm a captain, and I've got lieutenants that are coming to me as a captain, being like, "Sir, what the fuck, man? Like, why are they teaching us all this ice for action, lead from the front, follow me kind of shit?" And all I can do is tell them, "Dude, you're 7 years too late. This is not the same war." And it's just like the United States. This is not the same country that it was 20 years ago, and for better or for worse, doesn't matter. What we have is what we have, but we absolutely need to defend our Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment does not control us. It controls the government. And as soon as we stop letting the government be controlled by our Bill of Rights and our Constitution, the Constitution allows the people to do things, fall for that, then we've writ off large. all of our liberties, and we will be the person underneath the knee of a tyrannical government not being able to breathe.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. We're running out of time. So real quick, don't forget to go on Facebook and look us up, 2AT, Second Amendment Talk. Like us, follow us, interact with us. Let us know what you think about the show. Tell us your thoughts about what's happening with the protests and everything. Also, be sure to look up 2A Training Group, LLC. That would be Rod's company. Check him out with that and everything. Send him a shout out there. Again, big shout out to our service members, to our troops serving us overseas and on the home front. We appreciate everything y'all are doing for us. Keep up the good work. Come home safe. We're all rooting for you here back home. And like I said, if we're still pandemicking, then shout out to you people as well. I got nothing left. Rod, you got anything?
Hey, nothing but love, peace, and chicken grease.
Absolutely, 100%. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This has been 2AT, Second Amendment Talk, right here on Armed Radio. I'm Daniel Sanders for Rod Burks. Thanks for listening, everybody.